Welcome back to the next episode of Coast to Coast. Jeremy here, Ed there. Um, had a bad joke, not going to do it on the first recording, but I forgot what we were doing. So today we are going over the wide receivers and cornerbacks. Not all of them. We're going over. I went over three. Ed went over three. So six total wide receivers in the 2025 draft class, and then the same thing with DB or cornerbacks specifically as well.
Yes.
So we're gonna get it started with Matthew Golden. I know he being Ed watched him as well. So we actually watched four people each because I watched Tet because we were just talking off pod about some stuff. And yeah, Matthew Golden, based on what I saw, uh, number one wide receiver in this draft. I don't think it's particularly close with anyone else, unless obviously, from what I hear, Hunter focuses solely on becoming wide receiver, and that makes sense because the way he runs routes while he's defending makes complete sense. Spoiler: Ed did him as a wide receiver. I did him as a cornerback. I think we both ended up where everyone else did. But yeah, so starting with Matthew Golden, um, special teams, I think, is super important. He is a kick returner. I'm sure he could return punts as well. I don't believe he did. I didn't see any. Um, but just sure-handed, great in the red zone, like by far. Like that's in my opinion where his speed really shows up is on those just straight to the corner routes. And he just leaves the DDB and his dot. Like, and there's nothing you can do. Like short area quickness is ridiculous too. I mean, he's good at. There's a lot of positives on him. Just obviously after the 4.29, everyone's freaking out about it. There's a lot of positives, honestly. Uh, I mean, his ball tracking is amazing. You know what I mean? Like everything makes sense, but I don't understand why he wasn't wide receiver one to start. I understand the 4.29 helps quite a bit. And he's not 6'5", 220, but or 210, sorry. But yeah, his 40 times makes sense. He's elite at tracking the ball. He has great body control. He's fluid in and out of breaks, and he's very well like he understands route concepts and where to be, how to be,
He does.
and then really how to use the leverage of the DB against him, right? So there was a lot of times where he'd kind of bait him into flipping around and then cut. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I remember saying this to you too. One of the things that I kept seeing was um, I really wish we could have seen a full year of him with Arch Manning
yes.
because constantly in those reps that both of us watched, Ewers was underthrowing him, overthrowing him. It was just there was no rhythm between the two of them. It felt like
Yeah.
from viewers side and I know we just talked about this off the pod. We don't want to dump on anybody, but I really feel like viewers accuracy, which has been a thing that has been, you know, drawn upon a lot with a lot of the critique about him as a prospect, um was a big thing that I think kind of pulled Golden's stock down as far as him being the guy that you're talking about, and I totally agree with you from watching. Once I jumped in after you'd kind of called out that I really should watch it, and it's true, like you said, he uses his body positioning correctly. He's got a great route tree. He's got solid hands, and the speed that we saw in the 40 definitely translates to the field, and the yards after the catch with especially with the angles that he takes on the field to take advantage of that. You could tell instantly that he's a special player. I'm not going to say generational talent, but he's a special wide receiver. He's definitely a guy that's going to translate to the NFL.
Yeah, we don't want to become those guys that are just like everyone's generational because
Yeah, I hate
it's
that.
just lazy analysis. But I mean, as you're like the things that make him special in college are going to translate, and who knows, maybe he might end up being generational. But I also
Right? Who knows?
another thing with that, like it's just a lot of pressure to put on people. Like, who is it? Someone, I don't know, someone on Twitter or whatever was like, every time they compare somebody, it's like, that's not fair to the player that you're comparing them to. It's like, oh, well, so and so
Yeah,
looks like Travis Hunter looks like Darrell Revis. And it's like, okay, like I understand what he did in college is special and stuff like that, but being like, hey, he's gonna be one of the greatest cornerbacks. He plays like one of the great, and I play styles and
yeah,
um, but yeah, one thing we do need to keep in mind about, I remember that correctly. Ewers played last season on a torn oblique, suffered in week 2. So I know he's always had injury stuff, but like that's got to be tough to play quarterback of all positions with the torque and everything. But yeah, completely agree. And quite frankly, every wide receiver I watched would greatly benefit from an NFL quarterback. Like
yeah.
I'm sure
Agreed.
even when I watched Ted as well, like the quarterback play was there was left to be desired with it, and I felt like there were on everyone that I watched, and that's just college ball, right? You're not going to get an NFL level quarterback in college consistently, and that's what these wide receivers have to deal with. But yeah, I mean, as far as Matthew Golden goes, like I don't know, I didn't really like honestly, not many that I saw is what I wrote for his negatives because I didn't, like he seemed like a willing blocker. Like he's not going to be Gronk, right? But like,
Right.
he didn't shy away from physicality from what I saw, and it's giving effort as a wide receiver in general. Like you can teach how to block correctly and stuff, but like you just want to see a guy in college give effort at running at run blocking. So I don't know. Like again, he's not elite by any stretch of the imagination. I just like it, and then for him to play special teams, for not to be too big for that, like that's important. Uh,
Yeah, I liked there weren't an awful lot of the wide receivers that we watched that I saw that in, and I liked seeing because it wasn't just like 1 or 2. There were a lot of kick returns, and he 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 was quite accomplished with that too.
Definitely, and like kick returns in big moments. Like I'm pretty sure he
Yeah,
ran back not ran back. I'm sorry, he didn't score a touchdown on a kickoff, but like I'm pretty sure he was receiving
but he had
the kickoff in the what the Peach Bowl or their bowl game against Ohio State where they lost. But yeah, I don't know. It's just cool. It's just cool seeing that, and yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, we said we wouldn't. I don't understand how he wasn't wide receiver one to start, just because it's like you don't need to run a 4.29 to understand how fast that guy is when you watch the games. Like he's fast, obviously. But
yeah,
but next,
and the polish is there already too.
that's the thing. It's like he's a route runner, and he's only going to get better. Like, could you imagine if he went somewhere? I don't even know. Like, if he went somewhere with, well, who's in the? Let's see the draft. Sorry, this is great podcasting, everybody. I know. Uh,
You're good. I mean, you put him at number 7 with the Jets. You know, that's a one right off the top of my head.
with
You know,
learning,
pair him with Garrett Wilson.
you kidding?
You know, that's instantly gonna help Fields out.
100%, 100%.
So, I mean, that's just off the top of my head. That's one that definitely works.
Yeah, I mean he.
Or you're looking at you were just talking about this. Somebody like the Patriots. The Patriots need a number 1. Pairing him with Diggs.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's that would be great.
I don't think they would take him at number
That's
4, but
high, especially because realistically, like Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter may be there, right? Because it sounds like y'all might be taking a quarterback. It sounds like the Browns are interest. Who knows what they're doing? I mean, shit. Have you been hearing the
yeah, who
rumors
knows?
about the rumors about Dak?
What about them going after Dak? Yeah,
Like, how does
do it.
Carolina? Honestly, I'd like him in Carolina at 8. Uh,
Carolina would be good.
with Olave's, I know they need literally everything, and the great Michael Lombardi. I know you love the guy. The great Michael Lombardi always says that you build inward out, and I know other people. Uh, um, I mean, that's what the Eagles did. But man, Olave, who knows what happens with him? And then Uh,
Right after the Saints too.
I know
Chicago. Give Caleb another weapon. He lost Keenan Allen.
a huge upgrade
Give him a third wide receiver.
potentially. I mean, San
Got
Francisco.
DJ Moore,
Listen to this.
Adunze, and Golden.
So, so you said the Jets. I mean, shit. The Raiders is high, but depending on who's off the board. So the Raiders, the Jets, the Panthers, the Saints, the Bears, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, because it sounds like Reek may not be there. Colts are pretty solid. Atlanta, I mean, any of those teams from 6 to 13 could be.
Shit. I mean, you could say to
You say to what? Sorry.
anywhere from number 6 to 20. I could see him going.
Yeah, no,
Any number of those teams.
definitely.
Even Atlanta. Atlanta. What do they really have outside of Drake? Drake London.
Moon.
Darnell Mooney was good, but like,
Yeah.
would you really pass on Golden because of Darnell Mooney?
Well, younger and potentially, well, younger.
Cincinnati's dumb enough to add another wide receiver instead of actually drafting where they need to.
Yeah, they're pretty dumb. Um, they're pretty dumb. Sorry, not that we.
So I wouldn't put it past any of those teams. Arizona, even pairing him with Marvin Harrison,
Well, Arizona and him and Marv would be pretty awesome.
that'd be a great combo.
Honestly, the
So
Seahawks need.
I mean, there's really, like you said, there's really a lot of places he could go to be 22 to the Chargers. Pairing him with McConkey, that'd be a great.
because
I mean, who knows? I don't think he would fall that far, but
because with because in my mind it's like it's clear. We haven't watched the tackles yet, so I can't speak. We haven't watched the linemen yet, so I can't really speak to it. But it sounds like the NFL is pretty low on everyone but Membu. And I know Will Campbell Jr. just tested, had his arms grew 3/8 of an inch, I guess, or the NFL like screwed him for that. So it's like who would you take? It's like Abdul Carter's the best player in the draft, or if you like Travis Hunter, he's the best player in this draft. And then it's like Genty, Mason Graham. Like there's only so many players I would take before there, and obviously I'm missing people off the top of my head, but like there's only so many what I'm trying to say is there's only so many players that are going to be worth taking over Matthew Golden with the talent level because I mean, he's a top 10 player in my opinion. And that is a pretty roundabout way to wrap up Matthew Golden. So I think the next person we're going to be going with is Tet, and Ed watched a ton of him. So
yeah.
the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I mean, coming in, we've talked about this a lot. McMillan was my favorite player coming into this draft. I was all about it. I wanted him as the number two next to Neighbors with the Giants. I thought they'd be a great pairing, and I mean, I still do think they would be a great pairing.
100%.
But as far as the wide receivers in this class, I do, after watching this, I do think he's still a top wide receiver in this class. I just have a better understanding of why he's sliding in this draft more than anything. Obviously he's a huge target. He's a big, imposing guy. A lot of 50-50 balls, huge wingspan, um, and all of that is fantastic just on paper. Obviously, there's a lot of players like that come into the league and just tear the league apart. Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, guys like that, just big guys. I'm not saying he's either of those guys, but just those 6'5" and above, huge mammoth human beings. But in saying that, I don't think he really does the things that those players did to kind of separate themselves, not only in college, but then also in the pro space. He does do the 50-50 balls. He's got the big wingspan, but he certainly doesn't utilize it as well as you'd like him to. He takes good angles, like you had said, that the stuff over the middle, the slant routes, and the stuff when he takes over in the middle of the field, he does a great job of positioning his body and and utilizing the fact that he is a big, big target, big possession target with a great wingspan. But his speed isn't elite, and the separation. I know I said this to you off the pod. It felt like he always had somebody on his hip. There
Yeah,
there wasn't really any separation. Um, you know, um, that doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player, but I don't think his ceiling is probably as high as I would have wanted it to be coming into this draft season. I think he can be an excellent number two possession receiver. In an offense that has a clear number one. But you know, like I said, he always had somebody on his hip, so that's going to continue into the NFL if that's happening in college. He's going to be um, operating in tight windows, so he needs to have elite hands. He needs to utilize his wingspan and his size better. Um, and then the other thing I noticed too is like when he does break away, like if he does beat somebody or even like on blown coverage, like he gets caught a lot from behind.
yeah,
Like
yeah. He's
and
he.
and the closing speed's going to get better obviously with a lot of these cornerbacks in the NFL too. So he's going to get caught a lot. There isn't a lot of that breakaway speed. So I do still like him as a wide
Yeah,
receiver in this class. Obviously, he's still, for me, he would be number three, like we were talking about. Golden is right up there as a number one, and me personally, I would probably put him and Hunter together as like a 1A, 1B. Excuse me.
bless you.
Um, but yeah, I definitely like Tet still. I think he's still, a fantastic wide receiver, but I do understand why he's sliding in this draft and probably going to go outside the top 10.
Yeah, he would be a great. I don't know. Four's a little rich. Or you guys are three, right?
Yeah,
Three's a little rich because the Pats are four. Three's a little rich for Tet, but like he would be a great pairing if you guys could somehow get back to, you know what I mean? If someone wants to trade up, like
right.
the Raiders want Shadur and have him learn under Gino for a little bit, which is probably why the contract isn't going. The Raiders want
Yeah,
to see who they get in the draft before they give Gino a contract long term, which makes sense. Um, and you guys move back to six or seven or eight or
yeah,
10 or whatever, like that would
right.
be not that any of those teams need a QB or anything like that, but maybe they do like Travis Hunter because Titans go Abdul Carter or Browns go Abdul Carter and someone wants to trade up for Travis Hunter. You know what I mean? Like that's possible, but I mean, completely agree. From what I saw, Drake London, we were saying the same stuff about Drake London and that his play style carried over to the NFL. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And
right.
obviously he's become more professional in his route running and all that type of stuff, but like at the end of the day, we'll see. He has the craftiness, he has the shifty like for someone that big, he's pretty shifty, you know. Very Higgins, Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Uh, they're kind of similar shiftiness. It's just impressive for someone that large. Um, but yeah, definitely agree. He's gonna be. I mean, shit, he could be anyone's T Higgins if you have a wide receiver one. You know what I mean? Like it did at the Vikings paid Addison, correct?
No, I don't think they did. Did they? I
Let's
thought
see.
they had not done that yet.
I don't remember. Let me look that up.
But yeah, I do think he would be a great number two, or you know, if he needs to be a number one, he could very well be a solid number one. I mean, there's a lot of teams like we discussed with Carolina with Golden, and I mean he could very well be a solid number one with the number twos they have. So it's a lot of different options. But
Definitely. I guess we'll just go into Jaden Higgins then, since I kind of name dropped him and he's very Tet Tet-esque. I honestly thought he showed more speed off the line um, than Tet. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just talking out of my ass. Because I have to compare them side to side. I think I watched them. I did actually didn't watch them in succession. I watched. So I need to rewatch. But from what I saw with Higgins, he's fast off the line. He's a pretty solid. Same thing. Same thing. He's pretty much going to be Tet light, but he's similar size. In my opinion, he's I running theme with what you were saying about Golden, and then obviously Tet. We didn't touch on that, but he could have greatly benefited from better quarterback play. I'm gonna have to say the same thing with Higgins. There were balls that you said with Golden, with yours, and torn oblique will give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he'll progress in the NFL, but um, I remember actually now there's just some throws where it's like, dude, if you hit him even remotely close to his radius, like, because that's those are two things that I do like about obviously Tet touching back on him, but switching to Jaden Higgins now. Um, they catch the ball in stride pretty well. You know what I mean? And again, they're big dudes. Jaden Higgins is a big dude. Like
Yeah,
he's not small. So for him to be, I don't know, for someone to be that big and that athletic, this is obviously great analysis. I really like one of my notes is slant demon. Um, so
there you go.
similar in regard to what Tet can do and like I don't know. He, yeah, like, sorry, I'm just reading another note. Like, just pretty much
No, you're
any route
good.
where he can just stick his foot in the ground, change direction, and go. Um, so in breaking, out breaking, you know what I mean? Even post, like, I don't know, just comebacks, he's not bad, but it's like, I don't know, he's just special for that big. And that's how he created his separation in regards, like, I don't know. And also, so sorry. Um,
You're good. How was his route running? Because I didn't get to watch Higgins at all, and I was curious about his route
it,
tree.
it's I mean, honestly, it's pretty solid. Like he can play inside and outside too. Like they had him in the
Okay.
slot at times, and again,
Yeah.
like being good at those just like one cut routes. I mean, I'd say he's pretty. I don't want to say polished, but like he's pretty solid at just about everything. Obviously, he has his strengths, but like he's not awful in a comeback. Like you know what I'm saying? Like and he kind of knows where to be from what I saw, if I remember correctly. Um,
That's awesome.
yeah,
And
it's
now
just,
I know one of the issues we had too that we noticed with Tet. I don't know if you saw this or had the same issue with Higgins. Um, red zone wise, was he kind of a capable red zone
I mean, he wasn't,
weapon in any way, shape, or form? Because I know that was a big issue that we both saw with Tet. There really wasn't a ton of red zone usage.
I mean, on a scale from Ted to Matthew Golden, he's probably somewhere in the middle. Like,
Okay.
he did have a lot of those, like, I don't know, Matthew Golden in the red zone. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but absolutely ridiculous. Um, but he wasn't like absent from the red zone as because that's kind of with Tet like a lot of his touchdowns were like long touchdowns or um but yeah no I don't necessarily I don't think it was like devoid of red zone targets but it didn't jump out at me like it did with Matthew Golden but he one thing I did see um just a couple negatives, nothing crazy, and it could get cleaned up in an NFL facility. You know, he's at Iowa State. I know they have a couple guys, or they've had a couple guys over the past couple years. Um, but he just, yeah. So my notes are so comebacks aren't his strong suit, but that's something you
Okay.
can work on. And then yeah. So again, if he's sticking his foot in the ground and going a different direction, or like he can he can get over the top too. Like he's I don't know, he's pretty solid. I think one of my favorite things was that against the best competition and in important moments, um, that's when he showed up, you know. And
Okay, cool.
it's kind of the same thing back to Matt Golden, but it's kind of the same thing with those two. And that's what I mean, I don't want to say Jaden Higgins is better than Tet, but like for me personally as wide receivers, that's what I personally like. I know there's going to be NFL teams that love whatever all of these guys. It takes one team to fall in love with a guy, but with Jaden Higgins, Matthew Golden, I'm sure Travis Hunter. I didn't watch him as a wide receiver, but I'm certain he he had the you were talking about a little bit before. It sounds like he has a lot of third
Yeah.
down organs. Um, but yeah, I think I just like Jaden Higgins because he can be a high end he can be a T Higgins esque high end. Maybe not. That's a bit of a stretch just because T Higgins is so
Okay.
great. He'd be a high end number two if you had the like he would be great in New York in round two, you know, and I would be I mean if he doesn't go higher, I would be completely fine with him at what are you guys 37
34,
before
35, somewhere like that.
yeah 35 or 36 I don't but he would be not off the table there because yeah I just really liked him and then obviously mentioning Travis Hunter I know you have s- I know you have some feelings about Travis Hunter at wide receiver, and
Yeah, he's one that I wish we had in the wide receiver list coming in, because we had put him in as a cornerback, because both of us were so hell bent on him being a cornerback in the NFL. I shouldn't say hell bent, but like we both agreed that coming into this process, that his clearest path to being a quality NFL player was being a cornerback, which I think a lot of people agree with. But now, after watching a little bit of tape, I kind of did a 180. And I know, like you said, you didn't watch a ton of his wide receiver tape. You know, you saw some of his games and him as a wide receiver. But yeah, I fully, I fully switched up, and I am definitely on the Travis Hunter as a legit wide receiver train. I would love him as a number two with Neighbors and New York if they took him at number three. Um, but you know, obviously, I don't know what's going to happen there. But I would definitely understand if somebody took him as a wide receiver, and I would wholeheartedly um, support that if they picked him as, and specifically with the Giants too. I wouldn't hate it if they did the opposite of what a lot of people are talking about. Instead of like a cornerback and then kind of having some packages as a wide receiver, I wouldn't mind if he was a wide receiver and then occasionally he was, you know, their nickel. I wouldn't have a problem with that, because I think he would be a great pairing with Neighbors. I think he would be a great number two with a lot of different players in the NFL. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have him on my list for wide receivers. Um, but somebody I did have, who I think is also a trend we're going to have, I think, in this list is another great number two, and that's Mika Ibuka.
uh
I think, I mean, great route runner, you know, consistent, great hands, the ultimate security blanket. I saw in every situation, and I remember seeing this previously, but especially this year with Will Howard. I mean, he was not the number one, obviously, because of Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith just took over.
I mean Jeremiah Smith would be the number one wide receiver with a lot of teams,
Yeah,
and he would have been the number one wide receiver with the Olave. So yeah, well,
right. Yeah,
what 2 years, 2 years till we'll
yeah,
be talking about him. So
right.
yes,
It's one of those things where, like, I think like Buka never really got an opportunity to be the number one on that team. I think he does have the capability of being a number one, um, but I think he would complement better and would be more. I don't want to say I don't want to say it's a safer bet, but like I think him being drafted as a number two on a team would be fantastic because like I saw a lot of um you know you remind me a lot of Chris Godwin even, which I mean obviously Chris Godwin had a lot of success with Tampa operating almost as a 1B to Mike Evans 1A. You know, he did have some weeks where he just took over games. And Aguka can definitely do that. He's the kind of player that can can do it all, and he was just so consistent. I mean, he was so consistent. It was almost surgical the way he went about things with his route running, and he's a he was underrated speed wise too. There were a lot of plays where he just kind of broke away, and it kind of caught you off guard and came out of nowhere. Um, I really think he's got everything you need as a next level wide receiver. Like I said, the route running, great hands, and he was just super consistent. He did everything they needed him to do. He was a willing blocker, even, which was a good thing too. He was just always in the mix.
I will say he showed up in the Texas tape when I was watching for Jade Barron. Yeah, he's a he. It seemed like he was exactly what you said, just the go-to moments. He's another guy that like Will Howard was trying to get the ball to, and again, that speaks volumes. Having a guy like Jeremiah Smith,
Right.
it's just invaluable being able to trust the number two, like you're saying, and not have to worry. Know he's going to be in the right spot. Know he can be your security blanket if Malik Neighbors doesn't win. Well, I'm just kidding. I mean, in the second round, I don't think he's making it to the second round because
Right.
he ran a 4.8, a 4.48, which I mean, at 6'1", 205 pounds. That's pretty solid. Like you know, and I feel like he's one of those players that get him on the field and it doesn't matter. Like a 4.48, sure,
Yes. Right.
like is that a blazing speed? But watch him in the games. Like who cares? That's awesome. That's good to hear because he's Buckeye, right?
Yeah.
One of the squad.
One of
I
the
mean,
squad.
also too, like there's something to be said about playing for Ryan Day at Ohio State. You know what I mean? Like, and think about the like you want to talk about pressure. Like that team when they lost to Michigan, like I mean, there's still people who are Ohio. I mean, obviously they're batshit, but there's still people who are Ohio State fans that are like, "Natty doesn't matter. We didn't beat Michigan," and it's like, all right, I'd lose the Michigan game every year if it meant that you'd win a national championship. Like who
Yeah.
cares?
Right. Who cares?
But dealing with that and then the $20 million roster, uh, fucking not theory. What am I trying to say? The $20 million roster, like was just being thrown around out there. Not that Oregon didn't pay for their roster and Texas doesn't
Right.
pay for their like everyone
Yeah.
does it.
It's just a part of the
Um,
game now.
and then the pressure too. Like that's why it's I don't know. Will Howard he might be a sneaky pick. Like I could see him in a bit. It's just dealing with that much pressure. Like you can go to a Giants where it's like a crushing pressure because you guys are
Yeah, and I mean he had the completion percentage was fantastic for him last year too for
and
his
he had
one and only year there. So
then I don't know. Like it sucks when people get discounted because of the talent around him, like having Ibuka as your wide receiver too. Ibuka would have been a wide receiver one on what? 90% of college rosters, 95% of
yeah,
college rosters,
right.
you know, which is a lot more if people don't understand it. That's a lot more than the 32. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And he's always been a number two because he was Marvin Harrison's number two.
Yeah, right.
Like so he's already completely intimate with that role because he knows he doesn't have to. So yeah, you mentioned that before. I'm just thinking about it now, and after hearing what you've said about him, um, that makes a lot of sense. And the intangibles are important, and I think you get those in spade at Ohio State because your fan base is ridiculous. Like Ryan Day being like, "Hey, the worst day of my life outside my dad dying was when we lost to Michigan. I was like, oh my Lord, dude. I get it
Yeah,
though.
that's a lot.
Fanatics, fans, it makes sense.
Yep, it all adds up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna switch to Luther Burden the third.
Sounds good.
Um, he's explosive, man. He's explosive off the line. They utilize him a lot in a bunch of different ways, which was a positive and a negative for me. Like he might get like, and it's not warranted, and also he needs to prove that he can do this in the NFL. But like I mean, Debo type comparisons. I know just to the way they utilized him. It was a lot of like sweeps. It was a lot of like jet motion, bubble screens. I mean, he made plays, but he was their entire offense as well. So shocker, we're gonna go down this route with another guy that would be a great number two. Would be a great compliment. Which I'm not. We're not saying that as a derogatory term, but it is the theme, and there's nothing wrong with being a
Yeah,
number two. T. Higgins just got paid
right.
what $32 million a year for being a number two wide
Yeah,
receiver, or 28, whatever it
right.
is. I'm good with 28
Got a
million
big
dollars.
contract. Yeah,
Yeah. So Addison got a big deal. Like he's gonna get a big deal. Yeah, because I think he's up. So Vikings might be a sneaky team for one of these wide receivers, to be honest,
yeah, right.
because you'd have the most ridiculous receiving core in the NFL if you added any of these guys on top of Justin Jefferson. And I mean, because even is Powell still there? Powell's solid. Like
I
we
believe
always say,
so. Yeah,
moving people down, and even if that's
Because
Addison,
Osborne's not there anymore.
not yeah, yeah, yeah. Because even if you move, like even if you get someone to upgrade Addison, Addison's now your number three. Like worst case, and then
Yeah, there's
move on
nothing
from
wrong with that.
Addison, whoever you draft, or you have him as your wide receiver number three, and then you can learn him up to be your wide receiver two. So Vikings are a sneaky team. Where are they at? 24. Who knows? But yeah, Luther Burden, I digress. Red, all caps. QB play hindered him quite a bit.
Seems to
So
be quite the theme for a lot of these players.
yeah, it's just college football. It's tough. It's tough having an NFL guy. Um, but yeah, I will say like he's not going to lose the Debo accusations, but he has great contact balance. It's very difficult to bring him down. Um, and I mean, I liked him a lot, but when people were putting him over like other people, I'm like, I don't know. And then you hear which you always got to take these accusations with a grain of salt, but then you hear the diva thing, and it's like, I didn't really see that in his tape too much, but his improvising was good. He was great at high pointing the ball. He's another one of those guys that foot in the ground, let him change direction, and they'll go. Has no problem catching in traffic. Um, Good deep speed. And honestly, if he becomes successful, like using him as a decoy would be pretty legit, because you get those. I mean, it's kind of what the Ravens do with Zay Flowers and stuff, and some of these teams with. I mean, I look at Miami's offense, right? You get Tyreek Hill going one way, Jalen Waddle going the other, and you have Raheem Mostert up the gut. It's like it makes sense why he led the league in touchdowns that one
Yeah,
year. Um,
that 1 year.
that was on the Dolphins, right? I'm not
Yeah,
misremembering that. Yeah. I
yeah, I
mean,
believe you're right.
I would just be like feel like such a dumbass if it was like the year before in San Fran.
No, no, I'm pretty sure you're right. He had that like incredibly dominant year with
Yeah.
touchdowns.
A couple things I didn't particularly like, which it's a pet peeve of mine. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Get north and south. For how good of he is with contact balance, I feel like he was trying to. But then again, he was the entire offense. So if he's not the entire offense, is he going to just get
Okay.
north and south to pick up? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
It's
get you.
kind of like with my theory of Caleb Daniels, Caleb Williams. It's like he doesn't have to be the hero anymore. He has Ben Johnson. He's now going to have an offensive line, all that type of stuff. I feel like if Luther Burden or some of these other wide receivers, just people in general, when you have the weight of the program on your shoulders. But yeah, no problem. Like that, you could see he's not. and then you, yeah, again, preference north and south, but he wasn't the most polished route runner. He's kind of winning off of athleticism and stuff, which isn't a problem because he's a freak athlete, but also like, will it translate into the NFL?
Yeah, it's really sad how far he's fallen because I mean, coming into this year, he was one of those guys that was kind of earmarked as a probably top five pick. You know, he was easily the number one wide receiver coming into this year,
Yeah,
um, in all the kind of the preseason stuff, and then obviously that changed in a big way, and now you're looking at a guy that could easily fall into the second round instead of being a top 10 pick.
which I mean, looking at his tape, a lot of it is like he was overthrown or underthrown on, like he might be that top 10 pick is what I'm trying to say,
Okay,
but
got it.
yeah, it it was, yeah, not his fault, but it needs to be used over the middle too. Like
Okay.
imagine Bo Samuel-esque offense without having him go, like, I don't know, but he could also be like, he's crazy. Like he's very difficult to bring down. Like he's more boom or bust, I would say. Because like which one are you? And then if is he going to be? But he's still like, I completely understand why he got. I wasn't overly in love with his tape, but he's an electric guy with the ball in his hands, and um, someone someone's going to be pretty happy if the diva thing is true and you can get him. I mean, Pittsburgh would be a perfect place. That's all they need is a third. Three's company. But Mike Tomlin's devil magic could probably handle another one.
Could help it. Yeah.
If he
I
can
mean,
handle
why not
one,
just go for it? Just keep going. Why stop at two?
why stop it too?
Just go
Uh,
after it.
yeah. One thing I thought as well is the last part of my summary was like he will benefit from better QB play, and I think that so there were now that I reread my note, there were some times when it was kind of like loafing, the plays away
Okay.
from him, and he's not like trying to sell the route and stuff. When you have like uh what was it, the Geno Smith? Who was that? That was your boy JSN when he did
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
he drew people
Doing the
away from
hand
a
up.
coverage. Even though it was a run away from him, he ran, or even though it was a play away from him, he wasn't going to get the ball. It was a broken play. Like he still ran. I don't think Luther Burden was going to do that at Mizzou.
He's not putting that cardio in.
Well, but also it's like he was the entire offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
Right.
like how much of that is like, all right, fuck, how much? So if he gets into a different culture too, maybe it'll help. But no, he's a first round wide receiver. All that to say, he's
Yeah.
a first round wide receiver, and he could, if he became the best one out of this class, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
It's like,
And I
okay,
know, and I know, we brought this up a lot in our previous episode with the free agency. And, we said this with a lot of guys changing teams. Change of scenery can be a big help, and that applies to draft guys too. They go from a bad situation in college, and immediately they can get a big bump by going to a good organization or a better offensive situation. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, by the way you were talking, the quarterback play for wherever he ends up, it's probably going to be better than what he was dealing with there,
yeah,
just by default.
yeah.
So I'm
Which
sure that all can help a lot too.
I know they just got him, but he would kind of be sick in Washington. Like they
That'd be
got his
cool.
actual NFL,
Right.
but it would
They've
be
already
kind
got
of
Debo.
redundant. Um,
Nothing
but
wrong with that.
no,
I mean, look at Debo and Ayuk. They're not too far apart.
that's fair. That's fair. Because Debo can actually, like, he's not inept at running routes. You know what I mean? Like, he
Right.
kind of gets a bad
Right.
rap. Like, oh, he's just a running back who catches the ball. It's like, that's kind of being, uh,
It's very dismissive.
yeah. and disingenuous. Like,
Yeah, incredibly.
so next would be, so we got Luther Burden. Did I go back to back?
No,
Okay.
no, you were good
Who?
because I went
So who?
Ibuka, you went
Yes.
Burden, and then I have for my last of the three, I have Io Manor from Stanford, and I was pleasantly surprised because the couple of games I remember seeing him in, uh, I didn't really remember anything all that um, memorable. You know, it was just kind of I remember him being in the game, and I remember a lot. But I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, he's a big target, not like Tet McMillan big target, but I mean 6'2", 200 pounds. So he's a big guy, and the wingspan's there, 78 78 plus for the wingspan. But yeah, I mean, I liked him a lot. The route running was really good, really high IQ player. You know, I already mentioned his size, ideal size and speed. This is another one where uh, the O line and the quarterback definitely affected his production. The O line was yeah, I can't pinpoint one or the other, which I don't know if the I didn't know enough about Stanford's quarterback to know if it was if he wasn't a great quarterback to begin with, but the O line wasn't very good. They weren't holding up on a lot of the pass protection, so that didn't help, and the quarterback wasn't making great plays. Um, but when he did have time, uh, Amator, he really reminded me a lot of Devonte Adams, and I know it's a lot of high praise. I'm not saying he's going to be Devonte Adams, but he was a big body. Um, he was really he seems like a really smart player. He was really solid in zone. He had some you know he had some issues here and there creating space, but it wasn't like Tet where he had somebody on his hip at all times. Um, you know, but in man he did you know get jammed up a little bit here and there, but he still found a way to kind of you know, create windows of separation with his feet, with his hands, with his body. So I really liked him as a player. He's really well rounded. He utilizes his size. He does everything you want him to do. And then um, he was a fantastic blocker. It was just like plus blocking by him. Um, you know, I saw it a lot when I was digging into the actual games themselves outside of just the targets that he was getting. Um, and then because I saw him and noticed that he was a really good blocker, I'd looked into it a little bit and I had found, you know, I'd looked into the blocking metrics a little bit more, and I found a stat that I thought was really interesting. From the last 2 years, from 23 and 24, he had 517 run blocking reps and had zero holding calls in any of those, which I thought was pretty impressive for a wide receiver to not
Yeah.
have any kind of you know, holding penalties. So I thought that was a really good, pretty impressive one for 2 full years of run blocking.
No, I mean, that's like, there's tackles in the country that don't even, and that's their main job. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So I liked him a lot.
You said 500 and,
517
yeah, that's
in that
impressive.
2 year span.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like, I don't know, sometimes you need to look at stats, right? In respect to everything. So it's like 519 isn't, that's like, that's a lot. That's a pretty
That's
large
a lot.
sample.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what
Right.
I'm trying to say. Like you can't just
Yeah.
like if it was like, oh, 100 snaps, it's like, but 519 is a lot of snaps. So that's impressive, honestly.
Yeah. And like I said, it's like you hear a lot with like the willing blocker, but like not only is this guy a willing blocker, but he's a more than capable blocker. He was kind of blocking as if a tight end would, you know, or like you know a tight end should.
Yeah, and so that means how is he in the slot? Like could he or did they utilize him in the slot? Was it more of a usage that they didn't?
I mean, he was more of an outside receiver. He was more of the X. but I mean, he like a lot of these other guys that we were going over, he did operate a lot in the middle of the field. So I mean, he could easily be a big kind of possession slot guy, jumbo
Well, and
slot
it's like
guy almost.
if he came into a place like Baltimore, you know what I mean, and he just wanted to play a little slot with Zay and Bate outside,
Yeah,
um, or Hop. Like,
yeah. Oh man,
no,
I
I'm just
completely
thinking. I'm
forgot
just
D Hop's
thinking.
there.
I mean, shit. Even the Eagles, the Lions.
Yeah,
Like, you look at the teams, the Vikings. Like, why not? Like, I know we were talking and joking about the Vikings needing another wide receiver too, but it's like you can get Maynard to be a wide receiver three, and then you might just pay Addison.
yeah.
And
There's nothing wrong with just kind of stacking weapons for your quarterback.
like maybe you hit on an edge, or like maybe you hit on another important position of need, but you don't necessarily hit on the wide receiver too. And it's like, all right, yeah, so they want to run the ball. I mean, shit, Cleveland, depending on what Stefanski is going to want to run. That's the thing is like, there's a lot of teams. The Chargers. You're going to tell me that 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 he's not.
Right.
I mean, shit, Harbaugh was a Stanford man.
Yeah.
Stanford, Michigan. Stanford, Michigan, man.
Hey, still
Um,
counts.
but no, that's awesome. That's good to hear. I just like when guys are more well-rounded, which is gonna lead me into unless you have anything else to add about Maynard.
No,
Um,
that was it. He was an impressive guy that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did.